Hello friends, part second, India's strategy to counter the China in the Indian Ocean region. As I said to you in part 1 to counter the China, I put forth in front of you the Indian Ocean region is a vital sea lane with choke points such as Strait of Hormuz, Strait of Malacca, and Babel Mandeb. These three is very crucial as the Strait of Malacca particularly India's influence here is very much because of the reason is Andaman Nicobar Islands that are present there, and from this island to the very coastal boundary of Andaman, Indonesia, there is less than 100 kilometer or 120 kilometer gap between from India's Indra Point from to their Indonesia coastal boundary. So there is very much less gap, and the half of it in between these half of this gap, India's presence is there. So there is very much chance to choke out this region, and China is very worried about this India's presence, and he is now softening his risk through the CPEC, China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. And the second thing is that India is making relationship with the island nations, and if you took the Western countries, the countries which is encircling this Indian Ocean region, India is also calling all to cooperate with them, as India has established a forum, African forum, and India is offering lots of his soft power and offering many strategic projects to the African countries, particularly Horn of Africa. Here at the Horn of Africa, there is issue of piracy. So India is worried there, and is to nullify this effect is making a comprehensive presence there. The Indian Navy has warships deployed in the Gulf of Oman and Persian Gulf to provide safe passage of Indian flagged vessels operating in the region. This is very important development, as the Indian Admiral actually said that we are making strategic points at the Gulf of Oman. I am putting my Indian Navy ships presence to safeguard India's interest. India has also set up the Information Fusion Center Indian Ocean region to keep a close watch on the movement of ships in the region. Information Fusion Center IFC Indian Ocean region to keep the watch on movement of ships. IFC IOR engages with partner nations to developing comprehensive maritime domain awareness and share information on vessels of interest. So, to As uh, from 2014, since the Prime Minister, new Prime Minister, which is current Prime Minister, is working, actually have taken a different step to obstruct Dragon from his nefarious acts. The Chinese Dragon might be obstructing India on their land boundary, as everybody knows that in the Galvan Valley region we have some problem with China, but this Indian Ocean region is going to be more critical than the territorial boundaries. One important development has happened here is that China interprets the international law according to his own interest. The presence of Chinese People's Liberation Army Navy and its Chinese commercial vessels in the Indian Ocean region. The Chinese interpretations of the United Nations Convention for the Law of the Sea and so forth remains challenge to those who are subscribing to the idea of free and open Indo-Pacific. Actually, China is reading this Indian United Nations Convention for Law of the Sea according to his own interpretation. So that is actually annoying. On that interpretation, he is claiming South China Sea 90% belongs to China. But actually, the convention says that 200 miles or 350 kilometers from the coastal boundaries, you can exercise your economic zone. But the China actually interprets it differently. So it's problem for free Indo-Pacific region. The geopolitical strategy of string of pearls, that China is actually a string of pearls actually making very alarming thing is encircling the whole actually India's influence and parallel to that is also competing with maritime influence as well. And parallelly, China is working at the two things. BRI is one thing, and the Chinese maritime Silk Route is another thing. BRI is road connectivity projects, road railways connectivity infrastructure project, but maritime Silk Route is another project. And to intensify this maritime Silk Route, he's actually captured 99-year lease of Hambantota, and Beijing gaining control through his, I have already discussed about debt trap policies, and his Gwadar port is developing there for CPEC. And Maldives, to Maldives, China has funded a China-Maldives friendship bridge to the linking Malé to the island of Hulhul Malé and Hulhulul. It is the first sea crossing bridge for the Maldives and could play a vital role in the island nation's long-term economic development. The Maldives has also offered him a lease an uninhabitable uninhabitable islands where no one lives. No one lives there. Fedu, Fenolohu, actually names as Fedu Fenolohu, which is inhabitable, and Maldives offered to China for 50-year lease, and he took $4 billion from China as a prize, with a plan to develop infrastructure for tourism along the African coastlines. One quarter of all the Chinese investment is concentrated in Nigeria and Angola. Nigeria has received a relatively large amount from China for railways. Abuja also hopes that China will support peacekeeping in the Niger Delta region, which would better secure oil investment there. Beijing is backing two major oil rail projects, one from Lagos to Kano and the other from Lagos to Calabar. So, Chinese ambitions in BRI project is actually sucking up all the African key regions and connecting with Indian Ocean region. It could be the Strait, Malacca Strait, or it could be the Pakistan port, Gwadar port. There is two parallel alternatives. And these are the big countries. They are economically weaker, and China has the money to offer, and they would not be able to pay back. So their sovereignty is in question mark. As CPECs pass through the Pakistan occupied Kashmir, so it is India is also worried by this project and this project. So overall, India can take advantage and making actually closer relationship with Mauritius, and offering him $87 million project, $87 million project for two companies, Afcon Infrastructure Limited and Rail India Technical and Economic Services, REIT, to develop the railway projects there in Mauritius. And the Melanic